Corey. So if we go through, let's break it down. We might go front to back. Initially, we'll save our final statements for the end as usual, but initially, Action, your confidence levels heading here.
I'm nervous. I'm really nervous because Para do have the game plan to beat Penrith. Their second phase play, especially from their back row, upsets our rushing defence. So, only thing I believe that will hurt Parramatta is a Wonga Blake. If Cleary can bomb the shit out of him, that'd be really helpful. And
Take note, Nathan.
and Penrith's fitness, like Penrith, the way they came home against South Sydney, if they can do that again against Parramatta, who you saw Parramatta at the end of the Cowboys game, they were blowing. They were going. Reid Marnie could hardly stand up.
Yeah.
And I think that might play a bit of difference in the fitness of the Penrith Panthers.
Well, I mentioned how obvious that was in the South game about, the dragging them out into the deep water analogy, and that's a big key here. Because Eddie's ironic to think that, it's not ironic. The fact is the fittest team in the comp's favourites to win the comp, and the 3 or 4 clubs that seem to whinge about how hard their pre-season was were in 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. So fitness is a key.
Funny that, eh?
Initial thoughts, our statistician supreme.
Yeah, I agree very much with what Chris had to say, to be honest. I can see the edges, the back rowers, which is another point that sort of worries me for Penrith being a big part of this match. You've got Kikau and Martin up against Papali'i and Lane, who have been probably the 2 informed back rowers in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. So I can see that being a huge matchup in how this game's dictated at the end of it.
I'll get, obviously, a bit later on, I'll give what I actually think, but I do believe that any sort of outcome is possible in this game, and by that I mean Penrith could win 1-12, Para could win 13+ kind of thing. I think every result's within that realm of possibility and not just sort of scoffed at straight away. There are scenarios where any of those could happen. Look, I've said it, I'd say Parramatta's biggest positive still, and I've said it all year, they have had, in terms of their entire pack as a whole, the best forward pack in the competition. It's going to be very exciting seeing them going up against a Penrith forward pack where individual performances could probably overcome that. If James Fisher-Harris has an absolute monster game, plays out of his skin, he can probably get through that and shake those blokes a little bit. So I'm really interested, possibly more than any other battle on the field, to see that battle of the forwards. Obviously, the Cleary-Moses kicking game, I'm going to be very interested in. We know how well Cleary kicks. We know he can kick Penrith to victory in certain games. It's going to be how Moses can sort of step up to that. He can. He's done it in other games where he's had terrific kicking games. He's one of the best halfbacks in the comp and got one of the best kicking games in the comp. So I'm really interested to see those two with the kicking battle and how that sort of impacts the game, because I think Cleary will be kicking early, especially in the first 20 minutes of the game, maybe on the 3rd or 4th tackle as well. And it's going to be seeing how Moses can respond to that and seeing the field position he can sort of get for the Eels. I'm overall, without giving a tip, still feeling pretty confident about Penrith, that the fitness level. And again, I've said they've pretty much been one level above every team all year overall, and I still think that stands. Para can win it, but geez, it's going to be tough.
Can I ask a question? I've heard you say about Parramatta being the best forward pack all year. Do you honestly believe that their back row trumps Penrith back row? Like a back row of Yo, Kikau and Martin.
Well,
Yo's
the big...
Their second rowers,
Papali'i and Lay, if you're talking about the second rowers, 100% Lane and Papali'i have had a better season than Martin and Kikau, 100%. Okay. Out of those 6 players, though, and you talk about the locks too, Yo's the best player out of all of them overall.
And Marnie versus Appy too.
That's a very close battle.
Appy to me, I believe, it might be biased to me, but he's the best 9 in the comp.
I would go with Appy as well. I'd say it's a close battle. But in terms of, if you're talking, again, specifically second rows, Parramatta have them covered. If you're looking at the entire back row, I'd say it's pretty close, but Yo is far and away the best player of those 6.
Well, I have to say,
let's start here. So let's start with, I guess we'll start with the back row. Here we are. Keep going. Tell us who you favour in the second rower department here.
I take Kikau and Martin over Parramatta's back row because they run hard, they hit hard, and they pressure the edges all day. They do not. They're relentless. They pressure them edges all day. They ask questions of the halves in defence all day. Like Liam Martin is one of my favourite Panthers of all time. He's fantastic. You watch his work on and off the ball. I believe he's underrated. He's just a fantastic player, and I believe that they edge out Parramatta's back row. Like all that Parramatta's back row have over Penrith is a sneaky offload. But if Penrith can shut that offload down, what have they got?
I don't think this has actually been Martin's best year. He had a really good game on the weekend against South Sydney, and I don't think he's been horrible by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, definitely not.
But compared to sort of previous seasons, I don't think he's been as good, and I could probably confidently say he's not been as good as Lane or Papali'i this season.
He's still played his role, though. He's played his role that Penrith have asked of him, and he's done it, like, magnificently.
I think...
Yeah.
I think this has almost been Villy's best year in a lot of ways in that he's become a complete back rower. And you'd probably agree to an extent that at times his defence is in question, his commitment is in question, and he wants to be a basketball at times as well. But I think this year he's made very few errors. He's picked his moments right, and he's been almost their... obviously Fish Harris is looming there, but he's almost been their best forward. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. I think Martin's been under what he has been the last couple of years, but I agree with everything you've said. And last week was clearly his best game, probably all year, without thinking too much. But I am giving the second row battle, if we're taking out the way, to Parra, because that is their go-to. Those edges, Sean Lane, has come from nowhere. It's come from a joke on this show to being in the Australian team, I would assume. As good if not the best, as good a ball hole hitter in the game. And Papali'i's whole game is hard, he's tough, he's around. They're both, talked about it on Monday, they're both second rowers that are there all the time. They're there for pickups, they're there for deflections, as Villy's been good at again this year. And Martin, I think, hasn't been as good as he has been in past years in terms of that as well. Barn, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with the majority of that, to be honest. At their absolute best, Viliami Kikau for me is probably the best of the players that have been mentioned. If he is in an absolute mood, good luck stopping him, because if he just flicks it on and plays his absolute best football on the weekend, he could win the game pretty much off his own back. You've seen him just throw people around and score tries at will. And in some ways,
the best thing that happened to him was the 2020 grand final where he tried to push everything under the sun.
He overplayed his
head, and he's now learnt to
pick his spots. I think Penrith are a better defensive outfit in the outside backs than Martin. Martin's a much better defensive player than someone like Sean Lane. But it does come back. Papali'i and Lane have just been more consistent for the entire season. I love Papali'i. I think he is close to the best back rower in the game. The way that he just continually bullocking runs through the middle. He's not sloppy in defence by any means whatsoever, and he does keep coming for 80 minutes. As I said, at their best, I'd give the edge to Penrith, but I think just on a consistency basis, I think Parramatta may ask a few more questions than the back rowers from Penrith.
And onto the locks, Yo versus Madison. Look, Madison made the New South Wales team for a game. He has been tremendous and continues to grow as a player. Is anyone here disputing as Yo is the best lock in the game, Barn?
No. Apart from Cameron Murray when he's at his best, that'd be the only other person I'd throw in close. But he's more of a worker than someone like Yo, who just has that touch that no other 13 in the game has. He's ball playing before the line and sometimes through the line, which isn't as often as before the line. But the way he just gives his halves so much extra time and space when he gets involved, draws two players and passes before the line.
And proactively plays first receiver.
Absolutely. And then when he chooses to run as well, you never see him stop dead. You don't see someone just drop him on the spot. He generally carries people with him for a couple of metres and then continues with a fast play the ball. So,
well, speaking of Ryan Madison, what are the chances he starts on the bench and Nathan Brown starts?
Good.
Because how many games this year has Ryan Madison been named to start for Parramatta and then ends up coming off the bench?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Brown did start over Madison and Madison plays 65 straight after that, just to set a tone, just because... And the flip side of this, and it leads us a little bit into the next discussion, but I'll try and keep them as separate as can. The flip side is that especially if Appy doesn't start, they'll be looking to match Mitch Kenny's, who did put on some great hits last time, but maybe belt him out of the game and put him on the back foot and then play the Appy card earlier than they need to.
I don't think they'll be trying to hit him. I think there'll be a couple other blokes he'll be going after.
Oh, I know that, but yeah, I know.
Here's my...
I'm picking out the
one
fucking
bloke
weaker one.
wearing 6 and one bloke wearing 7. He'll be
but,
chasing.
and they're going to go after, look, the suggestion that they're going to try and just clear his jaw in the first 5 minutes and cop it if he gets spinned is preposterous because you don't want to play grand final of 12 blokes.
Have a look at that chin. Good luck breaking that.
Well, what do you think, Action? Are they going to start Madison?
That'll be rib
No,
shots.
they're
He'll be
gonna
shoulders into the ribs.
They're gonna start Brown, and he's gonna go out there and try and just chop as many people as he can. Like you could try and do it legally. You could just Arthur could have just asked 15 minutes of just solid
Every time
effort.
Every
And
time the ball's kicked, make sure he's on his back. Hit him hard.
Anytime Cleary touches the ball, put him on his back. Anytime Luai touches the ball, put him on his back.
You know what I noticed more than ever in that South game, now I think of it, was the Shepherd from Dummy Half. It was just so blatant in the South game.
But Cleary, I noticed as well, he was probably 5 metres deeper than usual as well.
Yeah.
So he was, he took that extra time, went back a little bit deeper and made sure he wasn't getting contacted too much. The interesting part for me is if you see Nathan Brown come out there with eyes rolling and going nuts, I know who's going to be stepping up from the other side, and it's going to be Fish and Leota who are going to go straight back at him.
Oh,
so
if I was Ivan, because Lino's got 20 good minutes in him, and the rest he's just blowing, I'd put Lino out there and just take his head off.
Yeah.
When he started staring daggers at Milne, that's one of the greatest moments of the season I saw when he got taken off. But part of the reason as well why I said earlier that I think for the opening 20 minutes or so, Cleary will be kicking early is because I think Penrith will know that as well.
Yeah.
And know that Brown will be coming, obviously, in the fifth tackle every time. If he gets the ball, Brown will be coming at him. So I think Cleary kicking early as well will probably give him an extra few minutes where he sort of won't be able to get to him till Parramatta Brown sort of really cottons on that, okay, he's kicking early here and tries to work out when that is so he can get to him. They've just really got to... In that sense, it makes it difficult for a Brown or someone to actually properly line him up and go for him there. So,
well, let's get to the front row then. You mentioned Fish. This is a cracking matchup, Barn. How are you looking at this one?
Yeah, this is a brutal matchup. You do have probably 4 of the better, if not best, front row forwards running around playing this game. Everyone knows my rap on Fisher Harris. I think he has been for the last 2 years the best prop in the world, and he's probably maybe just been matched this year by Tapane, but he's still out there doing the damn thing week in and week out. The way he runs the ball is just so hard to stop. He hits in defence, same as Leota does as well, but for me, his impact is probably half of what Fish puts out there, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, he can still fold a bloke in half and run over the top of somebody, but he just doesn't seem to do it as consistently as the others. RCG's probably had his best season in his career this year. Again, strong ball runner. He probably does have a few defensive issues compared to some of the others. And
he doesn't move sideways well, does he?
No, he doesn't. And neither does Paulo. No. But him again, he's just an absolute wrecking ball. At his best, he's as destructive as anyone as well. So I can't wait to see these 4 just belting into each other for a good hour in this game. So.
Well, you talk about underrated, right? I think there's actually is an argument to be made for Fisher Harris because you seem to hear every year when people talk about the best props in the game and that, it's usually a lot of Haas and this year a lot of Tarpany and that. And I think it's well deserved, but you just sort of don't seem to hear Fisher Harris
Buzz
as
and
much.
News push Fisher Harris like he's God's gift to...
Yeah, or you'll hear, they won't think of Fisher Harris at first thinking, oh yeah, Fisher Harris is up there. When I think in terms of consistency and how his teams... Like, I would honestly say Fisher Harris, in terms of what he puts in every week, is easy top 5 players for Penrith. And that's obviously... saying something in such a good team, still being able to put in those performances similar to like a Payne Haas is doing it for a bottom 8 side in Brisbane or Tarpany in a sort of a team that scrapes in the top 8 like Canberra. But for Fish to still have that output in a team full of absolute superstars, I mean, I have to agree with Barney. Over the past 2 or 3 years, consistently the best prop in the game, and this is easily one of those games for him to stand up. And he's one of the blokes who I think really likes the challenge going up against the better props in the game as well. So up against Paulo on RCG, I think he'll be right at home. I don't necessarily think he'll be feeling the pressure. He'll sort of be thriving off of it.
I don't think playing in a good team makes your prop output any better.
No, but what I'm saying is
It actually helps.
He's contributing
But
to
it
a
doesn't
really
get
good
noticed
side.
as much as
Oh, I know.
I think
No, and that's what-
Ollie's trying to say.
But
Look,
if you parachuted him into Titans, have got a okay forward back.
Well, let's just say
let's
you
parachute him to Newcastle.
or-
is he going to still do what he does?
No.
Probably.
So,
Yeah.
But he's going to have to do all of it. So he's also, you know what I mean? Like it's a.
Well, again, it's interesting.
It's
It's
not
like,
quite Dally M.
Honestly,
yeah,
if
of course.
Yeah.
But like, it's like you say you swap him and Tarpany, for example, or him and Haas. You know, you
but
probably
they're comparable
you're still
forward backs,
getting
in my humble.
the
You're still talking about top
getting
four
the same
forward backs.
output from those players as well.
say I'm an old front rower. So if you gave me the option to run third, fourth tackle off the back of work that Toto, Edwards, and Tungo was doing, you'd put your hand up and do it all day. I
Yeah.
like
Gordon Tallis puts it. He always puts it so well in regards to that about how good Webke made him look.
yeah.
Because you'd have Webke, he would have Petro, then
Petro and
then he
Webke.
could have the third hit up, and he was like, "How good's life?"
Yeah, like you honestly,
But
you
then
think
when if Webke gets put in his ass, he goes, "Oh, leave me out of
you
this."
got Edwards, you got Toto, you got Tungo bending the line, and then you got either Leah, like Moses or Fish taking that hit up.
Yeah,
Like, just I'd put my hand up. I'd be running at blokes going backwards all day, every day. I'd be
Yeah.
putting my hand up to do that shit. And that's not putting Fish down for what he does, because I think Fish is the blueprint for the front rower in PVL ball. Like
Yeah.
he's smaller, but he's fitter, and he gets through a lot of work, and he's strong.
you know,
It's
what
like
he is?
him and Cotter.
You know
him
who
and
he is?
Cotter are the.
He's Jared 2.0. He's the upgrade of
Slider
Warrior
version.
Hargraves.
Yeah,
like
him-
if you got the best of Hargraves and added and like I said, created him
Added
for
a bit of
PVL ball,
pace.
Yeah.
isn't that who you get?
yeah, exactly. Like
And tone down the nutbag a little bit.
Yeah,
But just enough.
A lot.
But,
Because
yeah.
Hargraves is a maniac, which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is a maniac. But yeah, like him and Cotter are the blueprint for the modern front row. A little bit smaller, a lot fitter, get through their work,
Bit of footwork.
bit of footwork, and just defensively they just bind that middle up. You know,
Sorry.
beautiful.
No, well said. So what about the parafel? So we haven't even really touched on Paulo. We mentioned RCG.
Paulo worries me with his offload, because Paulo has that
Just on offload,
that
so just-
silky ball skills.
So just on offloads, I went and had a look. So Kickow is the leading Penrith offloader, 41.
Yep.
Second is Luai, 21. Para have Madison, 45, Paulo, 45, Lane, 38, Gutho, 36, Papai'i, 34, Penisini, 31 is their tops, which is pretty nuts.
Well,
Comparison.
when you think about it, like with PVL ball, it's a fitness game, because
Yeah.
with the six again, you've got to be fit enough to be able to defend your mistakes and defend your errors. With that offload, the second phase play, it puts more pressure on your fitness. And so if you're not fit enough to defend that, you are going to be punished. And you see that with Para. That's where Para win their games, is they punish errors with their offloads.
Well, a good late offload is akin to an extra tackle.
It is.
Realistically,
Yeah, it
if
really
you're hitting
is.
the line, getting the ball away, and then making another 8 metres on top of that, that's like having
go
another
back and
hit
watch
up.
the first
So
15 minutes of the Canberra para final. If you listen
Yeah.
to this and need to have this explained, go and watch it. They killed Canberra.
It killed 'em.
In
It
15 minutes, the game was over.
Well, if you've got two blokes in a tackle and maybe you left one behind, so those 3 blokes have now got to hit the ground, get up, chase again,
Yep.
yeah.
to either get back in the line or make another tackle.
And
Particularly when you've
and
got
then
big
you got to
outside
reset
backs who
and
you
go
can
back
then
another
isolate.
10 metres
And-
again.
As a larger man playing rugby league, the thing you hate the most is an offload,
Yeah.
because you have to reset and you have to chase.
And it lets you then isolate your Sevos on one-on-one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Outline.
centres,
So-
even a half running into
really-
now a broken defensive line. It creates all sorts of opportunities.
I think everyone summed this up quite well. The only bloke we haven't touched on is Leota. You don't want to wrap him at some
Oh,
point?
I love Leota. He
No
folds, he
nonsense.
folds blokes. He
Yeah.
runs hard. He binds that middle up like Fisher Harris. Like Penrith have leaked so little points through the middle, and that's got to be through the defensive work of Fish Harris, Leota, and Lenu.
And Appy.
And Eisenhuth, even I don't rate him, but he's like the defense in the middle. Defense in the middle, they've binded it right up. Yeah.
Let's get final word. So are we sort of half tipping Para front row in front, or is Fish Harris carry them enough to?
I think Fisher Harris is probably going to play bigger minutes than maybe. RCG has been playing some bigger minutes recently, but I don't think Penrith lose as much when they hit their rotation as Parramatta do. Yep. I think Parramatta lose a lot when Paulo and RCG are taken off the field, and I just think Penrith will be consistent for longer. So I would give the edge to Penrith, yeah.
I tip Parramatta's front row. I tip RCG, how hard he runs, and Paulo's late offloads and just the work he does, unnoticed work that he does. I actually think the Parramatta's front row is better than Penrith's at the moment.
Yeah, if we're talking front row in particular, I feel like Fish does have it and Leota has it in him to sort of go with him to match up to these blokes. And look, I think early on in the game, RCG and Paulo will be all over him, I think. But as the game wears on, and as you said, Barney, as well, once those rotations start coming in, I think Penrith will get on the top. And even when those blokes come back on, they just won't quite be able to overcome it. So I'll go Penrith.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sort of going Parramatta as well from the action school, but because I'm treating the bench separately as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
When they're on there,
Yeah, the dummy halves, so great matchup. Appy has probably covered himself in more glory this year than he has all year. I firmly believe there's at least 3 or 4 games he won Penrith this year. And you can argue about, including some recently, very recently in the last couple of weeks, but he straightened him up last week. It is baffling to me why he starts on the bench. I hate this new thing of
it's worked the past couple of times, so
I know, but it works. But both him and Harry Grant, don't tell me they can't handle what they have to handle.
Of course, yeah.
Appy more so, he's been there, done it. But he fixed Penrith last week when they were sort of floundering. He got them straight again, and he. You talk so well about how his ability to get his forwards on the front foot and get them going. He's just been outstanding this year, and that pleases me for next year. But Reid Marnie is probably the best offensive hooker in the game, in the conversation.
You got your Brayleys up there as well.
And
if we're purely talking defence, defence.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm just saying
Probably
they're sort of on the same level.
His ability to produce a 40-20 and have longer kick, not that they play to it, is a bonus over Appy. But look, I'm edging Appy into this because I just think he's been fantastic, and rightfully so, and will be in some World Cup squad and deserved his New South Wales spot this year, Barn.
They both got very good attacking sides to their game. They bring their forwards on. Especially in and close to the line, they seem to be able to isolate defenders with a short pass and put players on inside and outside shoulders of defenders, which I guarantee you'll see a barge over from probably both teams in this game, with one of the short balls coming off the dummy half. Appy, I think, has probably got a little bit more speed and ruck recognition than what Reid Marnie does. He seems to just pick his times that little bit better, and when he does go, he seems to create more problems with his footwork and his pace than what Reid does. And sometimes, for me, when Reid plays long to his halves, it seems a little bit slower than it probably should be. Whereas Coruscant's generally always out in front and has his halves running onto the ball, which just quickens everything up and gets the ball movement to the outside backs a little bit quicker.
By Yo?
So... I think anybody would be flattered by you.
That's not a knock. I'm just saying.
I'd be flattered by him if I saw it. Isaiah.
But Appy's service at the dummy half this year has probably been better than anybody.
They make a decision on what they're going to do, and then he'll give it off to the playmakers, and then it opens up all this space for Cleary or Luai to do what they have to do. To me, Appy Coruscant is the best hooker in the game, and he is the key to Penrith. So I give the edge to Appy every day of the week. Like Reid, you could get Jacob Arthur playing for Parramatta, and they've still got the same system. But
Appy changes.
You take Appy out of Penrith, our whole system breaks down.
I agree. And you only have to look at the last 2 finals games, and the proof is in the pudding. Look at when they were playing South without that delivery, and look at the last 60 minutes of that game. It's just there. And you know what's going to happen next year when he's gone? They're going to win. They're going to be as good as
no.
team. But there's going to be so much head scratching as why Penrith aren't quite what they used to be, and the answer's going to be Appy.
I was talking to David before you blokes arrived at the pub, and I'm hoping Luke. I'm hoping that
it's
Luke
I think that's where they're
develops
going with.
into a hooker, because as much as I love Mitch Kenny, and he's a trier, he's like Kevin Kingston 2.0.
Yeah,
Good old Kevin Kingston.
He is not Api Coruscant, and he's not Damien Cook. He's not like he's
yes. You can go through 10 and then
He's Kevin Kingston.
yeah, he's Kevin Kingston. He's a serviceable dummy half, but he's not what Penrith need.
So just your comments on Appy quickly, because we've sort of been talking about it the past few weeks at times during the show. For you then, is Appy first picked hooker for Australia?
Oh, definitely. I'm like, what has Cook got besides breaking out of dummy half from
we've
a half
sort of
fraction?
gone with the Hunt Grant
Maybe
sort
Hunt,
of combination,
yeah.
Hunt and Grant. But
I'll say it.
so you would be going
To
Coruscant
me-
first,
To me, Harry. Like I know, Daggy loves him because he played for the Tigers,
the Wizard. Yeah.
and also because he's good at football.
but to me he's overrated. Harry is a good dummy half, but he's not a great dummy half. He's
Quietly seething over there.
No. Hey, who's going to be my favourite player in the comp next year? Just have a guess.
Happy Coruscant. Happy Coruscant.
Papali'i, I think Papali'i maybe.
Yeah, that's if he goes to the Tigers. But no, honestly, like Harry's good
Hey,
on the
it's
back
second-
of a dominant forward pack. If a forward pack's not rolling, Harry's not as good. Whereas if a forward pack not rolling, Appy makes them roll.
Yeah.
Appy gets them across the advantage line where Harry doesn't.
And that puts him ahead of Ben Hunt.
Yeah.
The Hunt lovers
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
All right, let's change gears. Let's get to the centres. Tango, who I didn't realise is the only Panther to play every game. But Tango and Crichton against Penasini and Simonson. This might be not as long a conversation here. But we need to say something. Look, go on, Ollie. You can away. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to keep it pretty brief here. Tungo and Crichton, I think, can play better than those blokes, probably defend a bit better overall, attack a bit better. There's not too much to say. I think Simonson sort of coming in as a replacement. Penasini's all right. He's done nothing wrong, but I feel like you're just going up against a different class of play here. I don't think Crichton's been as good this year as he has in past years. I think Tungo's been on fire, along with Taylor May, but I think it's pretty clear who we're going with here. Or maybe if one of you blokes can make an argument for Parramatta, happy to hear it. But yeah, I'm probably going to side with the Penrith boys here.
Have a crack, Barn.
I've given Penasini plenty of raps during the year. I know there's been a few games where he hasn't been at his best, but he's definitely an aerial threat, which is he's probably as good aerial threat as Parramatta has for that chip kick bomb into the centre winger position. He's strong ball in hand. Has a defensive issue, lapse in him occasionally, but Simonson, he's your stock standard centre. I think from basically most teams have got, big enough, tall enough on his day, can beat people with footwork, but he's probably not going to light the field up at any time during the game. Targo's a superstar for years to come. That kid looks like he's got everything that you need to be a good centre. Gets turned around occasionally with the ball in and behind, and can sort of struggle to get out of his own end with the kick in behind him. But superstar in the making. And Critter, we already know what that bloke can do. He's another one who really seems to thrive on big games as well. He seems to get up and add that. He's just seems to find that extra 10% in a big game. So I wouldn't be surprised if he came out and burnt Parramatta a couple of times down that right-hand side for Penrith. So.
Josh, want to add? Do you see Critter at Penrith in 2 years?
Yeah.
You reckon he sticks?
Yeah, definitely. He's come through the ranks at Penrith. I believe that he will stay at Penrith, and Penrith will make the effort to keep him.
I don't think it's a lack of effort, but as a Penrith fan, if Bulldogs offered him 800 to go, you wouldn't match that here, would you, for him?
Do you reckon any centre in the game at the moment is attracting 800 though?
Valentine Holmes, maybe.
Val would be it.
Joey Manu, but he's
Joey Manu, but
technically still a
There's two
centre.
blokes that are better than
You look at
centres.
Origin where they'll throw any bloke into the centre because at the moment in modern rugby league, it's not the position where you need a specialist player. So,
but not Talakai.
but definitely fat Talakai. Yeah.
Yeah. So, underrated goal kicker is the other rugby.
Oh, he's great, and
He's
he's
a
like
90% goal kicker.
since Finucane took his ear off, he's been like a racehorse with his blinkers on. He's been
Well, he hasn't
even
been
better.
he hasn't been
With his
distracted
headgear.
by as many sounds.
He
with his
has been-
headgear on.
He
But
has
yeah,
been quite good recently.
he's been great.
Running the ball.
I've not much about He's been great. Yeah, he's been.
But
tremendous.
I don't think any centre deserves 800 a year. And if any club's stupid enough to offer 800 a year for a centre, good luck to them.
All right, the wings. We got Tua and.
Oh, did someone say wings? Where?
You already polished them off. Tua and.
Yeah. No, Dylan Brown's had a much better year than Jerome. Like, Jerome's playing second fiddle to Nathan, and whereas Dylan Brown sometimes has to carry Mitchell. So,
Watch
yeah.
Luai come out and brain it.
You watch him.
Yeah,
You
we
watch him.
know, yeah.
He's got it in him.
Like,
He does have it.
Luai has he's got his footwork.
Show
he's
and
got
go,
His
he's
show
quick.
and go. He can, and his ball playing ability is amazing. But, like, if you're watching Nathan Cleary do what he's done this year, are you going to step in and overrun him?
Of course not.
Override him? No. You're just going to play second fiddle to that. And that's what he's done.
I just feel like their combination, even like when Luai was playing better, their chemistry probably was a bit better. Not to say it's bad because Cleary can play
They're
well
playing
regardless, but
together
I feel
with
like
each other
together
a bit more.
they
Yeah.
were a lot better. Interesting. I
I think that's a bit more trust in the rest of the Penrith team because he used to kick a lot. Like there's so many tries they score to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas now
Yeah,
everyone else
they
scores.
just seem to be a much more cohesive unit, and it seemed to be a lot more centered around them as a unit. So I don't know. At the start of the year, though, it's sort of crazy to think about Brown as well, because was it one of us who suggested it, or I think because in that trial game against Penrith, Dylan Brown played in the centres, and there was
It
sort of
was Gump.
speculating.
Gump said he should be a centre.
That he might have
And
been.
he wouldn't
playing
be
in
wrong.
the
He'd be a
yeah,
fantastic centre.
exactly. And I'm not trying to, but it's just sort of crazy to see like how he's risen back up.
Goes back to
This
my
season.
argument where centre is pretty much where you just chuck anyone who's a good player.
All right. Well, the two big conversations. We'll go with the fullback first. Edwards versus Gutho, the two Energizer bunnies of the teams.
All right, I'll start first because I'm just going to say
Oh,
Edwards
I think
all
we're going to
day,
agree with you.
every
I
day
think, yeah.
over Gutho. I like Gutho, yeah. I'm just saying that. I'm probably
going.
biased, but
No, keep going.
Edwards over Gutho, statistically, much better. But to his team, like Penrith rely on Dylan to start the sets out, and he does. He bends the line. He never gets hit. He never gets folded. Where Gutho only ever pops up when there's a chance to make Gutho look good, and that's the difference between the two players. And I believe, yeah, Edwards over Gutho every day of the week.
Dylan
mate.
Edwards has the most run meters in the entire competition.
It's crazy how there's still a debate to an extent. I still see it every now and then, the Gutho Edwards debate. Like this year alone, it's not even. I said it earlier.
But Edwards didn't name a dance after himself.
he's not as marketable. Damn it! So he's not as good.
We don't have the Edwardino, do we? We've got the Guthrino, but we don't have the Edwardino.
Well, as I said it earlier this year, Edwards is the best systematic fullback in the competition in the sense that he fits into his system better than any other player. But I think it's even gone further beyond that. Even then, it's argument for currently the best fullback in the game.
I think you could plug him
stretch
into
the
any
argument,
system and he'd still be good.
yeah, and you could, and I don't necessarily agree. You could make the argument he has been the best player close to it this year. You could make. I'm not making it.
But
I'm just tickling.
win the Dally M, so.
Well, that's the thing. So he's obviously horrible. But he has had an extremely good season. It's hard to match. Gutherson, I think, towards the end of this year has actually picked up his game a fair bit. To be fair to him, he's probably had a bit more impact on the side, more akin to what he was doing early in 2021, 2020. But I remember the end of 2021 and into 2022, he did have that drop off a bit and he wasn't getting as involved, I don't think. But I feel like that's sort of picking up a bit more, maybe off the back of your Brown and Moseses of the world. But I don't think he comes close to Edwards in this matchup.
I said it all last week about Edwards. I blew copious amounts of smoke up his ass last week after the game.
He can't walk. He blew so much up his ass. He can't walk.
I give Gutho the edge in ball playing and ball playing alone. That would be the only tick that I would give to Gutherson in a head-to-head matchup. Edwards' defensive positioning off kicks, you never see him out of position. As Action said, every time he runs the ball, he never gets...
It doesn't get enough raps because it was exposed to patrol last week. Defensive positioning, I don't think...
It's one of the biggest aspects of the fullback's game.
I don't think there's anyone better apart from Teddy.
Well, what made Billy Slater such a good fullback?
He was always in the fucking way.
In the right spot. He was always in the right spot to either, even if he didn't stop a try, he'd make a play to deny a try.
Part of the game.
Like, he was always there, and he knew the game. And that's what Dylan Edwards has over Gutho. Over a lot of fullbacks, his positional play is the best in the comp.
He's not afraid to take a hit, but he generally doesn't get hit that much because he's always in and between defenders. He's elusive. He's quick. He's strong, and he just plays a lot more direct than Gutherson. He's always on the back of that sweep play, looking for someone to put somebody into a hole or looking for a hole to open up for himself. So, I'll be giving Edwards a tick in that one.
His ability to beat the first man so often on kick returns and set up a fast play ball which sets up broken field stuff is tremendous.
Even just the role
from where he's come from when we started this
him.
show, where again he's another bloke. If we went back and listened to it in 2019 and
had his issues with the
couldn't
high ball.
catch a ball, couldn't run it.
There's a reason why Ivan chose Dylan Edwards over Dane Laurie, which I believe Dane Laurie is a much more gifted footballer than Dylan Edwards, but
it's very savage in that
Ivan
conversation.
picked him. Ivan picked him over Dane Laurie because he does all those extra 1%ers that Laurie doesn't do.
There have been a couple of times this year even, and that first semi-final against Parramatta was an example. Within the first 10 minutes or so, Edwards made a couple of really bad mistakes and then went on to have a man-of-the-match performance. He just reacts really well to his mistakes now. So if against Parramatta he makes a bit of a gaff early, then you can probably expect him to win the Clive Churchill.
He'd shut down and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so the last key matchup, I guess, and the bench is Cleary versus Moses. Is this a long chat? Is this a short chat?
I'm not even going to answer this question because I'm totally biased on this shit.
He's pretty good player, Nathan Cleary.
I think you could probably be biased and right on this one.
No, but I am totally biased on this.
Well, just give us a name. Give us a name. Who?
Oh, Nathan. Every day of the week,
This conversation was much quicker than I thought.
He's got every skill you needed out of your halfback. He kicks well. He's probably the best defensive halfback in the competition. He just seems to read football like nobody else that's out there at the moment. If it's not on for his outside men, he'll take a hit or he'll run through a hole and score a try himself. He's the ultimate halfback playing at the moment. Moses, don't get me wrong, he's been good this year, but he's lengths away from Cleary in my opinion.
Listen to Tallis on Triple M up in Brisbane last week, and I don't know how much to take Tallis at his word because it's Gordon Tallis, but both Andrew Johns and Cooper Cronk said at Nathan Cleary's age, Nathan Cleary's ahead of where they
I heard
were.
them both say it.
I heard Cronk say it on 360.
And Johns.
John said it on the radio as well.
And
you can't...
To say that about a young half, to me, Andrew Johns and Cooper Cronk are the two best halfbacks of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
The two best halfbacks.
Well, in terms of minds as well.
For them two to say that, to me, it says everything you need to know about Nathan Cleary. He's got some errors in his game. And, in Origin, he didn't take control of the game. And not just saying that the forwards lost the game in that. But I'm not here to defend Nathan Cleary in Origin because...
Well, Cronk was a bench...
People got their opinions.
Cronk was a bench player in Origin for a bit, and Andrew Johns was playing hooker for a while, so...
But,
That's what people always forget about Andrew Johns is that... he was behind, I think, three halfbacks.
And this is purely Origin, of course, we're talking. But
at Origin, he played hooker for New South Wales.
So, Nathan has learnt the lessons the hard way. To me,
he's still only 24.
Nathan Cleary is the best halfback in the comp, bar none.
Yeah.
And
I think we all agree.
no matter
with you
how
on
good
that.
Mitchell Moses can be, and will be, even though I believe he's a flat track bully bitch. But I do not rate him at all. I do not rate Mitchell Moses at all. Like you said, flat track bully. He looked really good against the Tigers at Bankwest when they're beating them by 50 points. But in a hard game, in a tough game, he goes missing. Nathan tries hard, no matter what the situation, no matter what the game. He tries hard. Like against Queensland, when New South Wales on the back foot, Nathan will try hard every minute of every game. Mitchell just turns up. He just turns it up.
I guess.
And to me, that's the difference between two players, and to me, that's why.
I'm going to defend
Cleary's
Mitchell
a
here.
better player.
I can't believe I am, but I'm going to defend Mitchell for a sec. But in a minute, after I say that, in addition to that, Cleary tackles like a lock. He's a big body, big shoulders, and he tackles as well as... Well, there's no better defensive halfback.
Yep.
I'd have to think... Yeah, no, I don't think there is. And you could argue Jackson Hastings to an extent, but that's a different thing. He's got the most versatile kicking game. He's got the Burton bomb, which Burton's a one-trick pony. He's got a great short kicking game. He's got a 40-20. He's pinpoint. He's got the spinning grub, which no one has. And you can keep going. And, yeah, easy on top. Mitch Moses, so I agree we've been as hard on him as anyone as him being a flat track bully. I think he's proved to be clutch in the last few weeks. I think he's been good. I think he's been very good. He's been one of Parry's bests when he's gone missing at those times in recent seasons. And I think he's an elite halfback now, whether that's confidence, whether it's lack of opposition, whether that's growth. I don't know. It's probably all of those things. Do I think he's better than Nathan Cleary? No, I don't. Do I think he's better than DCE? I'd have to talk about that now.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's the
Last
conversation
year,
for
you'd
another
say
one.
no?
Leadership-wise, no. DCE, no, I don't, because when you throw in captaincy and what DCE brings to Queensland and other
all
clubs, it's incredible what DCE actually achieves. They're daylight to... I think that Moses is third, and there's a nice gap there.
Well,
maybe not daylight, maybe 4 lengths.
To put it in sort of its simplest form, I guess you could sort of say it's sort of overlooking. Moses can do this, and this. He can do a lot of things. Cleary does do this, and this kind of thing. I think Moses definitely has the ability to be up there close to and have Nathan Cleary-esque performances, and he does at times, but he just doesn't always get it all together, where Nathan Cleary's consistently more all-around. You talk about the defending, the kicking game. Actually, he sort of brought his running game back a bit against Souths last week, I noticed, and you sort of forget how good he is running the ball as well.
He's great at that. He's great at that. Like I said, he's great at that.
You're going to have to owe me one soon.
He's
That's
great-
just
expensive
Jesus
gear
Christ.
there, action. Come on. He's great at that end of recess grubber behind the line, and I'm just better than you.
I just feel like as well, obviously I do think Cleary does have more in his arsenal.
Who brought
but
this bloke? Seriously.
Fucking Queenslanders.
Fly the bloke down.
I've really got to fucking go. So
Yeah, we've got to go. We've got to get
we
going.
talk about the bench and fucking give our predictions.
All right,
Alright.
bench.
Oh, well, mate, I think it's pretty even realistically on the bench. I think Penrith have got a slight edge as they don't lose as much with their forward rotation as Parramatta do when they bring on their interchanges. The fact that they're still playing Arthur in this one confuses me. I really think they need 4 forwards in there. I know at the end of the day, if you
You know what
lose
shits me? You
a
know what
half or an
actually
outside
annoys me
back,
with
you
that?
have to.
I was watching some of the
cover,
media
but-
say, you gotta have Jake. What happens if Moses gets knocked out in the first minute? Well, what happens if Nathan Cleary breaks a leg in the first minute? Like, you don't pick teams. What happens if Clint Gutherson or Dylan Edwards gets knocked? You don't pick teams around who might or might not get injured. You pick your best 17.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kerry.
And I just think Penrith have more impact coming off the bench than you're going to get out of this Parramatta team. They're very hit and miss, some of the forwards that come off the bench for Parramatta. And, Penrith got the edge for mine.
Realistically, Salmon and Arthur are exactly the same player. If you're going one-on-one, Arthur's better than Jaden's.
One's a weak gutted dog.
Yeah, and one's okay.
Salmon can play in the centres and in a pinch back row. I don't think you could throw Arthur into the back row if you
I'm sorry,
needed
but
to.
any bench that contains Jacob Arthur is the lesser of benches.
And Kafusi and Niokore are both very nice players who I wish were at my club and would do a good job as players.
What's Penrith's
But
bench?
Sorensen, Kenny.
Sorensen,
Kenny.
Sorensen and Leniu
Leniu.
bring so much off the bench. Sorensen's footwork and Leniu's explosiveness
And
adds so
number
much.
17?
The weak-gutted
Salmon.
fella.
Salmon. No. Penrith win that bench. I'm sorry, but Penrith win that bench just on the fact that Spencer Leniu with his leg speed and his
Sorensen
30 minutes
Yeah,
of
I mean, I
impact.
think
so good.
There's two blokes there that win the
And
bench.
like
They're 2-2.
what middle have Parramatta got in the what middle have they got?
Oh,
in the
Nick Corey
bench?
and Kafusi will be fine, but they're not
But
explosive.
they're not middles either. They're edges.
Kafusi is.
Kafusi is.
Kafusi's a middle.
Kafusi will be front row.
He's been coming on
They've
playing
missed a
front row
trick.
all year.
They've missed a trick. Maybe not having him.
Well, you
full
need
size there,
you
but-
need a middle on your
I
front
don't-
row.
I don't think you
you
have-
need a middle. You need a middle in your bench, and Parramatta don't have a decent middle. Penrith have got Leniu. Penrith win that. They win the bench,
Okay, fair call.
in my opinion.
I've been talking about him a
And
fair
Jacob
bit.
Arthur.
Well, Scott Sorensen as well, honestly, brings a lot to this team coming off the bench. He'll play about 40 minutes maximum in the game. He'll run for at least 100 metres, make at least 20
Solid
tackles.
in defence. Yeah.
He'll do his job. And I don't think Parramatta necessarily paired with Leniu. I don't think there's a real matchup for those two blokes, really. I think Sorensen and Leniu are the two big keys, obviously, coming off the bench for Penrith, and I feel like they put them over the line.
Definitely.
Beautiful. All right, our final word, but it's okay. You're already late. You're in shit, so don't worry about it. Who wins and why, Oliver?
Penrith win 1-12. A lot of it, again, Nathan Cleary's kicking game. I feel like Parramatta start off hot. I feel like they could be up by 6 to 12 points early in the game. But again, when Anapi comes on, and I'm going to say it, I think he gets the Clive Churchill medal as well. The game does sort of change there. Penrith falls off the back of it, especially when your Paulos and your Campbell-Gillard start to come off. It'll sort of start to unravel a bit for Parramatta, and while they'll still be clinging on like they did against the Cowboys, I don't think they can beat a Penrith side that gets hot. So it'll be Penrith 1-12. Clive Churchill medalist, I'll say Apisai Coruscant, and first try scorer, he's Toto fast, he's too furious, he's been in a purple patch of form this final series. I'm going to go Brian Toto.
Action.
All right. Penrith, 13 plus. Clive Churchill, Nathan Cleary, first try scorer, Mike Acevo.
He's nowhere near as nervous anymore.
No, look, he's
I've had a couple of drinks. I've stolen some rums off fucking Ollie.
You're like a pirate. You've gone and stolen me rum.
No, but I believe, no, honestly,
No, all
Nathan
good,
Cleary,
mate.
Nathan Cleary will steer Penrith around like he's the best halfback in the comp. He'll steer the Penrith side around, but as I say, Parramatta will start hot, and Micah will score the first try.
Penrith's going to win. It's inevitable. It's coming like the oncoming storm, which we're going to cop, which will help Penrith's cause in the wet, I believe.
Yep.
And what's Cleary to in Clive Churchill $1.80?
I think
Yeah.
he's, yeah, 280, I
Although
think he is.
I know
$2.80. So anything over $2 is even though he won't be. Bet on him anything over $2.
at least
Yeah.
in the NRL era, there's never been a back-to-back Clive Churchill medalist.
Yeah, right.
So
Well, you're
bit
about
of
to get
history
it.
there.
Yeah,
But who will we vote man of the match? Probably Api Carousel. I think he's going to be tremendous. And I think that first try score. Well, it's going to be the kicking that's going to be the difference. They cracked the code to Para last game. They're going to double down on it. They're going to bomb to Waka. They're going to turn Sivo around. They're going to just shut up there. Once they shut down their back row, there's no future for Parramatta. Much as I hate to say it, what you see is what you're going to get from the last game. And Cleary's going to get the award. Like I said, we're going to give Appy our award. First try scorer. I'm not just dragging it to a no Barney, to be honest with you. But first try scorer will be Isaiah.
Ooh.
I'm going to go Penrith 1-12. I'm going to go by 7, actually. I'm going to go 21-14. Cleary to kick the
That's a
winning
rugby
field
union
goal.
score.
With about 10
love
minutes
it.
to go, and then Penrith just shuts up shop for that last 10 minutes and holds Parramatta out. Cleary more than likely will win the Clive Churchill, but I'm going to have a couple of dollars on Liam Martin. I think he's going to have a big game on that edge and cause a lot of problems. Probably score a try, maybe a double. Actually, I'll put him in for first try. So Liam Martin, first try scorer. Penrith 1-12. Cleary man of the match, and a couple of dollars on Martin.
I can see this blowing out late. I can see this being like the South game.
That's why I said 13
I
plus.
I think it can be.
Well,
I think it's favourite, isn't it? Favourite.
Yeah,
it is
13
favourite.
plus. And, you know, I'd probably have Penrith 1-12 and Penrith 13 plus over any sort of Parramatta win in terms of likelihood. personally.
Anyway, I'm out.
But yeah, Barney's off
Bye,
early.
everyone. Bye.
Can
We've got
I just say one last thing?
Of course, you can.
Go on.
After the grand final, make sure you watch the World Cup. It's going to be an amazing tournament.
I'm looking forward to it.
We got the men, not only the men's World Cup, we got the women's
Wheelchair.
competition and the wheelchair competition. Like,
I think all are going to be televised as well.
What the greatest thing about rugby league
I didn't realise Adam Hill's part of the coverage.
Yeah.
He's part of
Yeah,
the
he's been
the
over
greatest
He's
thing-
there
the
as
face
well.
of Channel 4. I didn't
Yeah,
realise till
over in the
today.
UK.
The
Yeah,
greatest
exactly.
thing about rugby league is our
And Vossi's there, by the way.
inclusivity. Like
Yeah.
we include everyone, and with the disabled aspect of it, with like bringing in the wheelchair people. Like, have you ever watched wheelchair rugby
Yeah,
league?
yeah,
It's fucking great.
No, but I am going to because they're going to televise it,
It's
which is
amazing.
We're going to cover
So
that.
yeah, make sure you watch the Rugby League World Cup. Get behind it. It's going to be a great tournament.
good. Go
Yeah,
Samoa.
go.
Go
We'll
Samoa.
talk about it on Monday.
Oh
We've
no,
got
go Tonga. Oh,
Goes.
We also
Oh,
haven't
we're
touched
we're
on-
rivals.